Okay, in this section, we are going to be looking at the strategies for passing the PTE speaking and writing section. You remember that the PTE exam is structured into three sections, and the speaking and writing, is the first section. So there are a few strategies you need to pay attention to if you really want to do so well in the speaking and writing section. Remember again that the speaking and writing section assesses your speaking and writing skill predominantly. However, some of the questions also check your reading and listening ability. So now, what are the strategies you need? We'll look at the first section. The first section is the read aloud section. That is usually the first question type that you encounter in the speaking and writing section. And so here, like it has been mentioned in our previous video, the two major skills that are tested here are your reading and speaking skill, because you are going to read a piece of information and then you speak it out. Now, what is the strategy that is important here? The first major strategy is your ability to stress words that carries important information while you are reading. Secondly, you need to pay attention to punctuations within the text. So as you read the text, when you see a comma, it means pause. Okay, so you're actually reading a piece of text, and this text will have punctuations. It is the punctuations that guide you as to when to pause as you speak what you are reading. Okay, so please take note of the punctuations. Very, very important. Now, the second strategy we'll look at is strategy for the repeat sentence question type. You remember that for the repeat question, the skills that are being tested are the listening and the speaking skill, because you are going to listen to a sentence which will not be so long, and then you are to repeat it. So what are the skills needed here? Number one, you need to listen out for how the sentences are being phrased, okay? And then you take note of the stress and intonation, the stress and intonation pattern of the sentences. Stress simply means the dragging of words, the way and manner that particular words are being dragged while the speaker is actually speaking. And then intonation has to do with the rising and falling of words. So you are going to pay attention to the phrasing of the sentences, the stress, and then the intonation. So simply put, you are going to repeat the sentence, or rather sentences, exactly as it is being said. So you are repeating the sentence. So for the repeat the sentence again, three major strategies you need to pay attention to is the phrasing pattern of the sentences, the stressing of some of the words, and then the intonation. The third question type we'll look at, and then we'll look at the strategy, is the describe the image. In this section, you'll be presented with an image, and then you are to describe that image. Again, in my previous video, I explained the fact that you are actually reporting what you are seeing. Now, for you to do well in the describe an image question type, you need to focus on the main information. Now, the main information is the major thing you can see about that image, and then you need to report it appropriately. Again, to do well in the describe the image section, you need to pay attention to how to use words correctly, especially words that talks about, that describes an item. Okay, you look at the positioning. For example, you pay attention to the color. All right, if it has color, you should mention it. You pay attention to the size. Okay, then you pay attention to words like below, above, beneath. You use all of these words to describe and talk about the position of the image. So remember that the major strategy that will help you in the describe an image question type is to talk about the main information that you can see in that image. And then lastly, you should organize your description. Now, you should be able to itemize them. If there are three things you are going to talk about from the image you are seeing, you should be able to itemize, talk about them structurally. So ensure you organize your presentation, you organize your description, and then you present it. All right. Okay, so the next question in the speaking and writing section is the retell lecture. Retell lecture. So what are you doing here? Practically, you are listening to a lecture and then you are going to retell the lecture using your own words. So you are not like repeating verbatim what was said. You are saying what is being understood or what you understood from what has been said. All right, so having said that, what are the strategies that will help you in the retell lecture? Number one, you must listen attentively to the entire lecture. Now, while you listen attentively, you pay attention to the following items. Number one, what is the subject of the lecture? Remember, for the PTE, what is being tested is the fact that you can sit in an English class and understand what is being said or what is happening in the class. So if you sit in an English class and you don't know the subject of discourse or of the teaching, that means you don't understand what is being said. So the first major thing you try to quickly identify in the retell lecture section is the subject. What is the lecture about? What is the focus of the lecture? The next thing you need to pay attention to are the main points. Depending on what the professor is talking about, is going to raise between 1 to 3 points in support, in defense, of the subject. So you need to take note of those points. Those points, you are going to retell them when you are retelling your lecture, because you are going to do something like, oh, the lecture was about the latest innovation, in blah, blah, blah. And then the professor mentioned, so you are going to talk about the main points, that were raised in the course of the lecture. And the another thing you need to pay attention to is the example and illustration. If the lecturer, the professor, gives you an example or illustration, because example and illustration strengthens, emphasizes the subject, you are going to pay attention to them and be able to talk about it. However, if the lecture is also about comparison, take note of what is being compared and the relevant information. Summarily, for the retell lecture, you should be able to listen to the lecture and in your own words, repeat or say what you have heard from the lecture. The next question type is the answer short questions. The answer short questions ask you questions and then you repeat. Now, there are a few strategies here that, you answer the question, not repeat. The short answer questions, you are asked questions and then you respond to the question. This time around, instead of reading something and speaking, you will hear the question and then you respond. Now, what are the strategies that will help you here? Number one, never pause for too long. This strategy is very, very important. If you pause for up to 3 seconds, the recording will automatically stop. Now, the questions here are spontaneous. They are spontaneous means as soon as you are asked the question, you respond immediately. Second strategy here, avoid long answers. Go straight to the point. What do you do during your free time? For example, during my free time, I read books, motivational books, inspiration. So you go straight to the question and answer it. Number 3 strategies, the third strategy under the answer short question is don't repeat the question. You are not asked to repeat the question, you are to answer the question. Okay, so then lastly, whenever you are speaking, this is general now, ensure you are audible and clear. Ensure you are audible so that your voice can be recorded properly, and then avoid using words that you have issue pronouncing. If you pronounce words wrongly, it's going to limit or distort the examiner understanding of what is being said, and obviously it's going to affect your score. So these are the strategies that will help you in the speaking and writing section. For the writing section, the last one that is the essay. I talked about that already in the first video I did on the PTE test, which is the PTE speaking and the writing. So if you have not watched that video, go and watch it. You see a lot of strategies there that will help you in the writing section. All right, so please subscribe to our YouTube and follow us so that when there are new videos, because we actually cover for IELTS, TOEFL, GRE, SAT, GMAT, and several other exams. And so all of these videos are free. All you need to do is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, share the link with your friends, let them subscribe. They get these training materials and tutorial free of charge. Thank you for listening to us.